We've got the plate set up here. We're going to be shooting from over there. I just thought I'd show you where our targets are. So I'm roughly near my shooting position here. That's our 200-yard target. You can see it in the middle of the screen there. And then 250-yard targets on that kind of standing up stump in the middle of the hill there. And then our 400-yard target, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it. My screen's really tiny on the camera, but it's just at the tree line on the hill there, hung up. It should be orange. Alright, boys and girls, so we're shooting 2 types of ammo today. I'm shooting some Barnaul 145 grain steel cased 300 black, and some Herders 200 grain Subsonic 300 black. It's a hollow point. It's called an open tip. It's only 2 kinds of ammo I could get at the moment. Once I get enough brass, I actually thought this was going to be brass cased ammo, so I kind of messed up buying that, but that's okay. As long as we have something to shoot today. But I want to build up my brass here, and then we'll start reloading for the rifle, which will be a lot of fun. But today we're shooting these 2. The Subsonic shoots a lot lower, obviously, because it's just a big hunk of lead falling and traveling pretty slow, so it shoots about 2 or 3 feet lower at 200 yards than this guy, so that's interesting. shots of the herder Subsonic stuff. This herder stuff isn't really ejecting. I'm not sure why. The steel case stuff seems to eject just fine. I don't know what's going on with that. I'm trying to work the bolt harder to get it to eject, but it's just not doing it. Not really sure what's going on there. Because of these hollow points, it's not feeding the best, but the rifle still needs to be broken in, so I think it'll feed better after a few hundred rounds. There we go. One ejected. Yay! One. There's 5 of that, and let's do 5 of the Bernal. Select corner strike. 407 yards and see if we can hit our target there. I'm gonna bring up my ballistic app and see how close it is here. Okay, so just gonna look a little bit above it. Second hash. Let's see what we can do. There's not really much for wind right now. So let's see what happens. Basically shooting right at the camera. So, use the rifle, use binoculars. Oh, light primer strike, worst. Missed. Only got an 8-inch plate at 400 yards, so it's not going to be easy to hit. I should probably shoot at 300 yards first. I think we'll do that next. But first, let's go look at the target. Alright, I'll try one more group with the herder stuff. See how it goes. Doing a better job of ejecting. Oh, I spoke too soon. Three out of 5. I'll take it. Alright, let's take some shots at 245 yards over here where my other target is. And then we're going to go out to 400 and see if we can't hit that plate. It's a little 8-inch plate out there. go take a look at how we did at 245 yards, and then I'm going to go back to that 200-yard target, and we'll just see how the last group of the herder stuff did there. We'll start going off to 400 yards and just see if we can hit anything. This is a 245-yard target. I think my first time I aimed, I actually messed up and aimed a little bit too high, so I think that's what this guy is. I'm going to try it again, actually, because this is, if I hadn't have aimed too high that first time, that would have been a really nice grouping right there. So I'm going to try that again with this Bernal stuff. But we're also going to shoot at 400 yards as well. And I'm going to go check the 200-yard target for the Herder's 200 grain subsonic stuff and see how it... Alright gang, so for that grouping, we're aiming right here with the Herder stuff, and it looks like this is a group here, which actually is pretty good. So remember, we're at 200 yards. So what's that? It's like a ½ inch, 1, 2, 3 1/4 inch. Yeah. Yeah, so it's about a 3 1/4 inch group at 200 yards. Not bad. Not bad at all. Alright. Take some shots at 245 yards again, and then we're going to try that 407-yard target. See how we do here. Let's do another group of 3 on that. Pizza box at 245. The top corner probably to get another different grouping. Dang guys, that's not bad. 245 yards. This is my 3-shot group here. So these were the 3 from before. This is my 3-shot group here. I was aiming at the top left corner of the box here. I'm clearly shooting to the right a little bit. That's got to be, it's roughly 3 inches, I'd say, that group, which is really good. 245 yards. That's awesome. I wouldn't mind doing some 5-shot groups next time if I get this ammo again ever, which I might not, to be honest, because I want to start reloading my own and I don't want to be buying steel case ammo. But yeah, that's good for Bernal stuff. Let's see if we can hit this 407-yard target here. I'm thinking we're shooting a little bit lower than what my ballistic calculator is giving me, because I'm probably getting a lower velocity than what I would have thought. I need to get one of those magneto speed chronographs that attaches to the barrel here one of these days. used to have a Caldwell one. It worked great until it didn't. So let's see what we can do. Let's try holding a little bit higher. Try holding even higher. Been a hit because I saw the target move. Let's try again. Target move again there, so I think I'm hitting it, but I just don't hear the hits. Ugh, I'm gonna have to walk over there and take a look. Yeah, let's do it. It's good exercise. Ugh. Well, I don't see any signs of hits, so I guess the wind was just moving the target there. That was unfortunate. I'm gonna have to go try again. So we're 407 yards away from our shooting position there at the steel plate. Steel plate's 8 inches square. I need to get a bigger one, honestly, for shooting longer range. But it makes it a challenge, which is fun. You can see my shooting position at the top of the hill there in the center of the screen, that little dark spot in the middle of the snow. And we'll zoom all the way out, and I'll take my lens off here. I've got a lens that adds about 3 power to the magnification, so yeah, we're quite far away. Pretty cool. But we're gonna try to get some hits on this steel before we go home. Alright, so I'm gonna mess around trying to roughly figure out my velocity of my round from my 250 yard target drop there. Well, it's only about 50 yards from where I sighted in at 200 yards, but it's enough drop that I should be able to figure it out with my reticle here, and then we'll mess around with the ballistic calculator and try to figure it out, and then we'll take some shots at 400 yards to see if we can hit where we want. Velocity than we thought here. Let's go with 1,800 feet per second. See what that does for us. Maybe we're at like 1,600 feet per second, which would be interesting. actually kind of makes sense for the cheapest ammo you can find, basically. Usually it's a lower velocity than what you think it is. Let's see if it matches up here. Okay, let's try that. Try 407 yards. Yeah, so it's a lot lower than what I thought. So we'll see how this works here. Let's do a little PU at 407 and see if we can make things connect here. It's interesting with 300 blackout because I'm used to 308, so there's a heck of a lot more drop over this kind of distance than a 308. But that makes it a lot more challenging and a lot more fun. And the fun part is you can use the little, these kind of like micro actions, like the super short, which is what this one has. Finding I'm having to tip these mags up to get these to feed a little bit nicer. Maybe that'll go away with break-in. Use the rest of my ammo just trying to hit this bloody target. See. Oh, part of the fun. You get a freaking chronograph. Good at 250, so I don't think this is an accuracy issue. Because if we're getting 3 inches at 250, we should still be getting, you know, under 6 inches. So if we're aiming at the center of that plate, we should be hitting it somewhat reliably. mag, so we've got 10 rounds left. And I've got these, these for herders rounds, but I was going to use those for, I think we still will, for any potential dangerous situations that come up on the way back to the car. There's bears, wolves, coyotes, cougars, etc. on the way back, so I'd rather have a few extra rounds for self-defense if I need it. I have been stalked by bears and cougars in the past. And possibly stalked by wolves, but the time where I thought I was possibly being stalked by wolves, I couldn't see them. So, but there was one on each side of me of something, and something also I think a little bit further behind me, and kind of stayed with me for a little while, at least until I got back to camp. This is when I was doing geology work a few years ago. Alright folks, well I have no velocity, I have no idea what velocity this ammo is going at really. Somewhere between, I'm guessing 16 and 1900 feet per second, probably closer to 16 I'm thinking. This is the thermal stuff. I just continue to hit that song at 400 yards, probably should have put it more at 300 to start when we get back, but c'est la vie, it is where it is. Let's see if we can get even just one hit on it with our last 10 rounds we have for the day. And if not, then we'll just have something to do next time. Well, it looks like we hit low on the plate. But we hit it once. It's better than nothing. Yeehaw! Alright folks, so the first day of shooting with the BCL MRX Bison in 300 blackout is concluded. We're basically out of ammo, just got a few rounds left just for in case you run into a situation with critters on the way back to the car. Very unlikely, but you never know. Bit of a bittersweet day, I would say. I brought two types of ammo with me. One type was Barnaul 145 grain FMJ, steel case stuff, and the other ammo I brought was Herder's 200 grain Subsonic. It was brass cased. With both types of ammo with this gun, I was having some failures to eject. So it was extracting the round from the chamber fine, but just not ejecting it. It would kind of let go of it in the action there, and it would I'd have to pick it out. It did it a lot less with the steel case ammo for some reason. It only happened a few times out of the 60 rounds I shot with the steel case, and then it happened at probably at least half the time, if not more than half the time, with the one box of the herder stuff that I brought. So a little disappointing there. I'm going to see if it goes away with break-in once I have about 100 rounds through it. If it's still doing it, I'll probably contact BCL and be like, hey, like this isn't ejecting properly. It sounds like it's a somewhat common issue with these rifles. I've read up on it before. My other BCL I had, the 223 version, I never had any issues like that. But apparently they'll just send you a couple new parts, and supposedly once you put them in, it'll work like a hot damn. So hopefully that either sorts itself out or it gets sorted out with BCL. I'm new to 300 Blackout, so it's really interesting for me to shoot this. I'm more of a 308 guy. I've been shooting 308 for forever, and I kind of just switched over to 300 Blackout for now to just kind of see what it was like and kind of how much fun it would be. And ballistically, it's a lot more challenging and interesting. Like 308 is definitely challenging and interesting, but for the same kind of difficulties, I would say I'd have at about 800 meters with a 308 rifle. I'm having at 400 meters, or not even 400 meters with this rifle. So it's just more challenging to shoot. You got to compensate for the wind better. I don't have a chronograph, so it was really hard for me to calculate the drop on my rounds and everything like that as well. So I do need to get a chronograph, and I'm also going to be hand loading the 300 Blackout here in the near future once I can get my hands on some brass and bullets. I've got the powder and primers, so we'll do some experimentation with that. But with those two types of ammo, it did pretty good, I would say. I was shooting at 200 meters. I didn't really have or 200 yards, I would say. I didn't really have a 100-yard area to shoot. I mean, I could have just gone 100 yards away from the target, I guess. But more fun to shoot at 200 anyway. The groups I was getting with the Barnaul stuff, first, I think the rifle just had to break in a bit. I'm not really sure. The first, like, I don't know, 15 shots or so were kind of all over the place. And I checked my scope mounts and everything, made sure everything was tight, and it was, so I don't know what that was all about, but now it seems to be shooting pretty good. I was getting reliable 3-inch 3-shot groups at 200 yards. So, I guess you can cut that in half for 100 yards, so that's, roughly 1.5 inches. So that I'm happy with that. That's fine. It's cheap steel case stuff. I don't expect it to be that accurate. In fact, I was expecting it to be quite a bit worse. So that was good. The herder stuff obviously had a lot more drop to it, and I want to say I was getting maybe like 4 or 5-inch group at 200 yards. It's maybe not quite as good as the other stuff for whatever reason. I guess maybe the barrel likes lighter bullets, or who knows, but didn't seem to like that stuff as much, which is fine. I just wanted to kind of experiment with that. I never shot subsonic ammo, so I kind of wanted to see what it'd be like. So I shot it at 200 yards, 197 yards, 245 or 247 yards. I couldn't get a consistent reading with my little gadget there, and 407 yards for my steel plate out of the, I don't know, I probably shot a good 25 rounds at that steel plate trying to hit it, and I hit it once. So, and I don't think accuracy was as much the issue. The plate is 8 inches, so it's an 8-inch steel plate. It's AR500. 8 inches is not very big. 8 inches, about that much. So at 400 yards, it's a pretty small target, especially with a 1:4 power optic here. It's at 4 power. Not really. I think it's just with 300 Blackout, it's much more ballistically demanding. It's going to drop a lot quicker, and so you're going to have your target here, and your bullet's already going to be coming down like this, so it makes it a lot smaller of a target for you to hit, actually. So that made it a little bit difficult. I've been meaning to get a 12-inch long target by 8 inches for a while. This might push me to try to get it, because it just lets me kind of correct a little bit easier at distances like that. But what I'll probably do next time instead is just get a piece of cardboard and shoot it at 400 meters, and that way I'll be able to figure out my drop and stuff a little bit easier. But all in all, it was a good day. I had a great time, and the rifle performed okay, besides the fact that it wasn't ejecting reliably. Hopefully that'll get sorted out, but otherwise it's a very light, handy rifle, and I'm digging it a lot, as long as I can sort out that one issue. I took off the muzzle brake that came with it. It's a 2-chamber muzzle brake. It's obnoxious for something that's a small caliber like this. I mean, even on a 308, I think they're obnoxious. And they're loud. I'm not a fan. Unless you're using a real big caliber, it can be useful. But so I put on my linear compensator. It's an S&J Nano. So that's the one thing I've probably changed on the rifle. And then I put a QD mount on the side and a little sling mount on the bottom just for my bipod. I'd like to get just a tiny cheek riser here, maybe a half-inch cheek riser. That should probably do it, because I've got this Leopold DX Freedom 1.5 to 4 by 20 on low worn QD mounts, which are great, by the way. If you ever need QD rings, I would highly recommend Warren. I've always gone to Warren and they've never disappointed me. They're great rings. I've never owned a Leopold scope before, so this is the first Leopold scope I've owned, and it seems pretty good for the price. The glass is pretty clear. I've owned some really high-end optics. I still have a Bushnell 1 to 8.5 by 24 SMRS, and it's made in Japan. Really, really nice glass. I've owned some other things in the past as well. I had a Night Force at one time and some things like that. So it's not quite comparable to that, but honestly, when you go down to these kind of more budget 1-inch tube scopes, nowadays they don't leave a ton to be desired. So, and for this particular build, it's just really lightweight and compact, and it just goes with the rifle really nicely, and it goes with the caliber well as well. I don't want a high power scope for a 300 blackout. That's just silly. Low power variable optics are very, very handy, and if you've ever shot long distance before, unless you've got a real fancy pants scope and you really dial everything in, I've always just used the reticle in my scopes because I don't want to leave it to the mechanics of the scope to decide my drop. I'd rather just use a reticle with hash marks and things. So I've always just reduced my power for long range shots. So when I'm shooting 800 meters with a 308, I'd reduce my power so that I can get the appropriate drop on my reticle. So when you're shooting long range, what I'm trying to say is when you're shooting long range, you don't necessarily need the high power optics. Not that I'm shooting long range with this. This at best will be able to do medium range. I'm thinking someday when I get this all dialed in and I get a load I like for it, probably the furthest I'll shoot it is 600 meters, and that'll just be me trying to push it as far as I can just for fun, because that's what I like to do. But for a hunting rifle, this is actually really ideal. The only trick is just making sure that the bullet you're using for hunting is going to expand at the velocities it's going to be hitting your animal at. So with this rifle, I probably would, I've never actually shot an animal outside of 100 yards anyways. Well, that's not true. I shot one. My first kill, I shot at 250 yards, but since then, everything I've shot has been at 100 yards or less. So, I'll be shooting animals within 100 yards with this. I'm going to be being careful, making sure I'm using bullets that will expand appropriately at the velocities that they're going to be hitting the animal at. So just one thing to be careful of with 300 blackout is just if you're going to hunt with it, use dedicated 300 blackout hunting ammo, and know your velocities of the bullets that they're going to expand at, just so you can get a medium kill, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, this will make an excellent hunting rig. It's super compact. It feels light. I don't think it actually is light. I haven't weighed this setup yet, but the rifle itself is like 6.9 pounds, I think. That's for the 223 version. With a 30 caliber barrel, you're actually going to have less weight because more of the barrel's bored out. There's a larger diameter, hole in the barrel, literally. So there's less material in the barrel. So actually, this is probably technically lighter than 6.9 pounds. I'll have to weigh it at some point, but and then you've got your optic and rings and whatever other doodads you attach to it. So it's probably a 7.5 pound, possibly even 8 pound rifle. Probably more like 7.5 because the scope is, I think, 9 ounces or something like that, and the rings probably weigh just as much as the scope. So it's hard to say, but anyways, it's light and handy is the important thing. Some of the things I nitpicked a while ago, I would say are similar. I don't think they've changed much. In fact, I'm having more problems than I had with the last one, and they've been making these rifles for a while, so that ejection problem is clearly an issue. Another thing is just feeding from the mags. It might just be a 300 blackout thing, but they do seem to nosedive just a little bit. It makes it a little bit hard to feed some rounds, especially those herder rounds. They were kind of getting caught trying to go into the chamber. What else was I going to say? I do like the action. It's smooth. The trigger's nice. The magazine release works fantastic. I don't like these sharp corners on the magwell. They annoy the heck out of me, and honestly, this rifle does not need a flared magwell. You're not going to be doing high-speed mag changes with a bolt action like this, or at least 99.98% of us won't be doing that. So I just would really prefer just not to have this flared magwell at all. If they just slice this bit off right there, it'd be perfect. It stabs me a little bit in the stomach when I'm carrying it against my chest. It annoys me. The square part of the handguard here, underneath it's perfectly flat, which is good for resting on flat objects just to make shots like, I don't know, fence posts and logs and things like that. But for holding and carrying, I would much rather have this just be like a normal handguard where it's rounded at the bottom. You could make it so the very bottom is flat, but it'd be nice if they had an extra edge here, so that this was more of like a octagon type handguard or something like that. But that's me nitpicking. Otherwise, I like the barrel profile. It's kind of like a medium contour. It's not a heavy contour, which is nice. I'm so sick of every bloody rifle that comes out gets slapped with a heavy contour barrel, because let's be honest, most people just go shoot from a bench at the shooting range, but those of us that actually take our rifles in the bush and use them for hunting and shooting in the boonies and all that kind of stuff, it's a friggin' pain in the ass to haul around a bull barrel. And unless you're putting like 50 to 100 rounds through your rifle in a span of a few minutes, you don't need a bull barrel. What a joke. Anyways, medium contour is good, best of both worlds. I still prefer a light contour barrel. A quality light contour barrel will not wander when you're shooting. BCL doesn't have I don't know where they get their barrels from, but they're not the greatest. When I had the BCL 102, it wandered when I shot it as it heated up, and then the other BCL MRX Bison I had wandered as it heated up as well. This one, I don't know if it's wandering yet. I didn't get an impression of that today, but we'll see as time goes on, as I do more shooting, if I can notice if it's wandering. So after all that rambling, if you're still here with me, this is kind of my first trip with the BCL MRX Bison and 300 Blackout. I'm going to try to make a series about, me taking it out shooting, developing loads for it, pushing it, trying to get it out. My goal is going to be getting out to 300, 400 meters with reliable hits on my 8-inch steel plate there, and hopefully I'll pick up another steel plate at some point. I need to get a chronograph again. Hopefully they still make those little Magneto Speed sports, whatever they're called, sporters or whatever, where they just attach on the end of the barrel. I'd like to pick one of those up so I can get some velocities while I'm doing some load development and things like that. So stay tuned. If you're okay with more rambling and lots of ums in between, not as many as Justin Trudeau might say, but a few in there, here and there. Stick with me, and could be kind of a fun series, and we'll see what kind of interesting things happen with this rifle. Thanks for watching, folks. Bye.